We just got the brand new teaser for the latest Lion King live action film, Mufasa the Lion King, and it is coming out in 2024. And whilst this film will look at Mufasa as a child and show how he became king, it will also show the future of Pride Rock during Simba's reign as king. And so today I thought we'd go through everything we know about this movie so far and work out what this means for the Lion King franchise as a whole, as it may answer some questions we have had about these movies ever since they first came out, and also try and theorize what the plot of this film might be about. The first thing to discuss is this isn't just a prequel. It is still set in the present and contains many flashbacks to Mufasa's time as a child, very much giving the vibes of Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Mufasa's story is being told to Nala and Simba's daughter, Kiara, who is very important to the franchise as she already has a whole film based around her, The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride. And so the big question is, will this film dip into anything from The Lion King 2, or will it just focus on young Mufasa? Now here's what a spokesperson had to say about the new film. Mufasa the Lion King enlists Rafiki to relay the legend of Mufasa to young lion cub Kiara, daughter of Simba and Nala, with Timon and Pumbaa lending their signature stick. Told in flashbacks, the story introduces Mufasa as an orphaned cub, lost and alone until he meets a sympathetic lion named Scar, the heir to a royal bloodline. The chance meeting sets in motion an expansive journey of an extraordinary group of misfits searching for their destiny. Their bonds will be tested as they work together to evade a threatening and deadly foe. Now, there's a lot to unpack there. The first being that it suggests that Mufasa was never originally part of the royal bloodline, but rather was adopted into it and was abandoned as a cub. In the poster for the film, it describes Mufasa as an orphan, an outsider, and a king. And clearly, Mufasa comes from very far away, but rose to be a king. And in the teaser trailer, he is described as
a lion was born without a drop of nobility in his blood.
And what makes this really interesting is that from the quote I read before, we know Mufasa found his new home with a sympathetic lion named Scar. Now, for those who don't know, Scar was Scar's original name before he got his name Scar. And I actually like this because it proves that Scar and Simba aren't actually related brothers, but adopted brothers instead, because it used to really annoy me how they just do look like very different and don't look related whatsoever. But Scar being described as a sympathetic lion and the heir to his royal bloodline looks like we're going to see the change of Scar's personality and see how he grew to be a villain. I think the biggest thing this film will dive into is potentially the betrayal of Mufasa from Scar, and it looks like it will be Mufasa inheriting the throne instead of Scar. That may be why Scar ends up turning against his brother. Will the film end with a battle for who should inherit the throne, and Mufasa and Scar fight, with Mufasa being the one who gives Scar his scar on his eye and therefore his name Scar? It could even paint Mufasa in a worse light and Scar in a slightly better light, and there be a reason as to why Scar would go to such extremes to kill Mufasa in the original Lion King. And with this basic plot, we can also use other sources to guess more about what this film could be about. It's a very well-known fact that the original Lion King was based off Shakespeare's Hamlet. In Hamlet, Claudius kills his brother the king in order to get the throne. Hamlet finds out and hears his dead father talking to him from purgatory and goes to avenge his father by killing Claudius. In The Lion King, Scar kills his brother the king in order to get the throne. Simba finds out and hears his dead father talking to him from purgatory and goes to avenge his father by killing Scar. And it's not just the first Lion King that takes inspiration from a Shakespeare play, but also the second Lion King film, The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride, is also very much based off a very famous Shakespeare play, Romeo and Juliet, as the plot is about Kiara and Kovu falling in love, but the parents of them, like Simba, not being happy because they are from different tribes, very much like Romeo and Juliet were from the Montagues and the Capulets. And so it's very safe to assume that this new prequel for Mufasa will also follow a similar format and take on a different Shakespeare play. So far they've been based on some of Shakespeare's most well-known plays like Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet, and that might be the case again, but it also might not. Either way, we're looking for a Shakespeare play that has an outsider come very close with the monarchy and then take over, creating jealousy for the original person who was meant to inherit it. The problem is there are so many Shakespeare plays about the monarchy or about jealousy, but here are a few potentials. Othello tells the story of Iago wanting to be promoted in his military rank. However, an outsider Othello ends up being promoted instead of him, which promotes huge jealousy from Iago. But the problem is Iago and Othello are very close, and so Iago ends up manipulating everyone around them, including Othello, in order for him to regain his position. Now, in this case, the military rank would be the King of Pride Rock, and Iago would be Takar or Scar, who was meant to originally gain the throne, but Mufasa, who in this case is Othello, an outsider, does so instead. And notice how in the quote before, Takar was described as a sympathetic lion, which very much would also describe Iago. He's seen as this very kind, sympathetic person, even though he's a massive manipulator. So Othello is probably the most likely play that this film will be based off, because it is a very well-known Shakespeare play, and its main character is meant to be from Moorish African descent, which of course is where this film is set. But other plays could potentially be Richard II, Richard III, maybe even Macbeth at a stretch, but currently I'm leaning most towards Othello. And in Othello, Othello also meets Desdemona, his love interest, and this film could explore how Mufasa meets Simba's mother. But with all this, I've been mentioning The Lion King 2, and the fact that this film is also set in the present after the events of the first film. Does this mean that they will also try and cover the Romeo and Juliet side of the story with Kiara? Well, currently, I don't think so. I feel like they are only introducing Kiara into the story so that they could potentially do another live-action remake of the second film, but this time as a third installment, because this is Mufasa's story at the end of the day, not Kiara. And I also think they would be trying to cram in too much by trying to add in the plot of Simba's pride into this whilst talking about the plot of Mufasa becoming king. It would all just be a bit too much. So I don't reckon they are going to look at the Lion King #2, Simba's pride. I just think they'll introduce Kiara, and then the rest of the film will just be focusing on Mufasa. But either way, I am so excited for this. What do you guys think about this? Do you reckon that this new film might be based off the Shakespeare play Othello? Do you reckon we might finally be able to see why Takar is called Scar and how he ended up getting his scar on his eye? I do think Mufasa and Takar end up having some sort of fight, and Mufasa wins and gives Scar his scar. I really hope that's what happens. And are you excited for this new film? I am so excited for it. I can't wait to see it. Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. And as always, we've been here on Gated Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.
When summer comes, I'll fall into a trap that I made by myself. Oh, and I always do the wrong thing. I'm unstable and I'm unsteady. I've lost 1,000,000 times already, and I'm so sorry, but I'm not able to slow